You most likely understand the two opposing forces of World War II, the Allies versus the Axis powers. That, for the most part, is accurate, but one fight near the end of the war flipped everything on its head. This war fits the theme of Frontiers because it had never been done before. It proved that Americans, Germans, and the French could work together, and it led to the end of World War II. I present to you the Battle of Castle Itter. The Battle for Berlin would technically begin on April 16, 1945, and though it ended in a matter of weeks, it produced some of the war's most climactic events and had profound implications on the immediate future. Near the beginning of the war, Castle Itter was seized by the Nazis to be used as a prison for high-profile French prisoners. The 14 prisoners were politicians, members of the resistance, trade unionists, and even sportsmen, imprisoned there by the Nazis after the invasion of France. These included former Prime Minister Edouard Daladier, Paul Reynaud, and tennis player Jean Barotra. Near the end of the war, after Adolf Hitler committed suicide, most of the SS officers in charge of the castle fled, fearing that the American forces would arrive. The French prisoners took charge and appointed a stray Austrian soldier as leader. François Poncet described the Germans' attitude towards the Itter prisoners as a mixture of brute force, politeness, and the occasional attempts at friendship. That, mixed with the officers' reservation on German policies, made it not very difficult to convince Joseph Gongol to help the French prisoners. Who were they fighting then? Nothing less than the 17th Panzer Grenadier Division of the Waffen SS. Gongol had become opposed to the Nazis during his time in the war. He knew the SS was going to come to reclaim Castle Itter sooner or later, and he needed allies. He only had 20 soldiers that were still loyal to him. He needed more. It all began on May 2nd when Eduard Vader, Dachau's last commander, committed suicide in the castle. The next day, Zvonimir Kukovic, one of the prisoners in the castle, a member of the Yugoslavian communist resistance, managed to escape with the pretense of carrying a message from the prison commander. With him, he carried a letter written in English that he had to deliver to the first American he could find. It happened to be the 23rd Tank Battalion of the U.S. 12th Armored Division. It was led by Captain Jack Lee, who agreed to a rescue mission for the castle. On May 4th, seeing that Kukovic did not return, prison commander Sebastian Wimmer leaves the castle followed by his SS men. The prisoners take control of the weapons left by the Nazis.
So at this point, the group that's making their way to the castle is composed of one tank, 7 Americans in total, and Gongol and his 20 German soldiers. As they're making their way up to the castle, they round a turn and come across a group of SS soldiers who are trying to set up a roadblock. They begin to shoot at the Germans on the road, to which Lee then tells the driver to gun it, and they all run up the road and make their way to the castle. And that roadblock was evidence that the SS were probably going to try to take the castle.
Lee gets permission from headquarters to go on a rescue mission to help Gongol. He does so with only 14 men and one tank, who join Gongol and his 10 German artillery soldiers. Halfway through, they face a group of SS troops and defeat them. Once in the castle, they find that the French have organized the defense led by a Waffen SS soldier who is stayed to help them. Lee places his tank, Basat and Jenny, blocking the main entrance, and his men in defensive positions. On the morning of May 5th comes the attack of the Waffen SS. After having a feast in celebration of allies, Gongol, Lee, and others take defensive positions. At 11 o'clock that night, a group of SS officers attacked with machine gun fire, hitting the top of the castle wall. The swapping of gunfire continued the entire night, with no light but the blast from their weapons. Once dawn hit, the tank blocking the entrance was put out of commission. Lee ordered the French prisoners to take cover inside the castle walls. Ignoring his request, the French prisoners instead joined in on the fight. In the middle of the battle, Major Gongol was killed by sniper fire. Then, something unthinkable happens. I believe the following source explains it best.
Well, around this time, at about noon on May the 5th, Andre and his group, led by Major John Kramers, had reached the village of Virgil and the bridge that Bass's tank was guarding. Kramers couldn't get into contact with Lee because, as mentioned, the radio in the tank was destroyed when, the tank blew up. So Kramers was trying to find a way to get in contact with Lee up at the castle to see how bad the situation was. And one of the Austrians said, "Have you tried calling him?" Because there was a phone line ran from the Virgil town hall to the castle. So Kramers calls the castle, and then in the middle of the shootout, one of the French pick up the phone. And then I assume by yelling, "It's for you," to Lee, Lee comes to the phone and begins to describe the situation to Kramers.
As their backup arrived, the defenders didn't have much time left. The SS was steadily approaching. Jean Barotra, the previously mentioned tennis player, knew the layout of a town near them. That town was where their backup was. Jean offered to Lee to run down there and guide the others toward the battle. Lee accepted, knowing that Jean may die. Miraculously, he made it to the town unscathed. At 3 p.m., almost everyone was out of ammo. The SS had made it to the gate and were about to break into the castle when they were stopped by a machine gun and cannon fire. The Americans had arrived. The SS immediately retreated. As everyone cheered, Lee walked out of the castle with a blank expression and approached the American soldiers. Looking them in the eye, he asked, "So, what kept ya?" They all broke out into laughter. The battle was finally over. Gongol was named a national hero. As we said at the beginning, this battle is considered the strangest of the entire Second World War, as it is the only one in which Allied and German soldiers fought together against a common enemy. It truly was a new frontier for World War II, showing that peace and cooperation was an option and ultimately worked out for the better.
Thank you for watching. I hope we taught you something new.